Hey, a lot of times in a marriage, it's easy to get your focus on your spouse, that they need to change instead of yourself. And it's just so easy to do that. And we see it happen time and time again in people. But what we like to do instead is we like to focus on ourselves and see if we're being life-giving. In other words, I focus on Mitch and say, am I breathing life into Kim? Because that's what's important. And so if I work to concentrate to do that, then a lot of things fall into place. Hey, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Kim at Keeping the Vows.
And we're all about helping you to find and maintain a Christ-like marriage. Kim, you want to get us started today with this?
Sure. Today we'd like to talk about what it means to be life-giving. Each of us have a need to be cherished and loved and valued. And these things are stored up inside of us. Place where we store them up, we're going to call the love tank. And so we need to do things for our spouse to fill their love tank, because the world is going to take away from all of our love tanks. Work, maybe you have health stress, family stress, just life in general. There's all kinds of things going on in our lives. And so it's important that as spouses we fill each other's love tank to help us to meet these stresses in our life. So one thing in relating to being life-giving is each of us has to be healthy individually. If I'm not healthy myself, then I can't be pouring into Mitch. And so I need to be healthy mentally, spiritually, physically. So Mitch and I both try to monitor these areas of our life to make sure that we're healthy. And if we see there's an area where we're lacking, then we try to focus on that area and build it back up. Mitch has needs that need to be met. We all do. And so as a loving wife, I want to help to meet those needs for him. I want to be life-giving, let him know I value him, and breathe life into him. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our needs as husband and wife. I'm going to talk about some of the needs that a woman has. I'm going to let Mitch help too, because he's got some good illustrations. But and then he's going to talk about the man's needs also. When Mitch asked me what my needs were as a woman, I said to feel cherished, security, affection, trust, encouragement, and belief. So the first one that we have listed here is cherished. When you got married, you probably vowed to love, honor, and cherish your spouse. But what does cherish mean?
You probably didn't even know what it meant, but you repeated the vows anyway.
Yeah. So cherished is defined as to protect or care for someone lovingly. I like that definition.
Yeah, me too.
You do a good job of that. You cherish me. Thank you.
You're welcome. It means a lot coming from you.
And the second need I have is security. This is something that's very important to a woman. I need to know that Mitch is going to always be here for me, that he's going to love me today, tomorrow, and for the rest of our lives together. So security is very important to a woman.
Nothing, too, that is affection. Kim, matter of fact, when I was writing this initially, Kim was sitting in the chair up here in my office, and I said, "What are your needs?" And she just listed all those off, and that became the article. What she said is what I wrote. But one of the things that I do with Kim, and I really enjoy, and I don't care if people are here or not, sometimes I do, like if you're here and we're talking, and we're sitting in the living room, I might just reach over and go like this. And you see how her face just comes over against that? Okay, I'm a guy, and I'm like, a guy likes to think he's tough, and all that. But when I can do that and she moves over into me, it makes me feel like I'm giving affection in a way that she really likes it. She just loves having her cheek stroked like that. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that I do for her. It's not just demonstrated, though, in private. Like I'll open car doors for her. We'll go to a restaurant. I'll open the doors for her, things like that.
I like that.
Yeah. Even seating her at the restaurant and pushing her chair in is something I just most always do.
You treat her like a lady.
I also tell her that I love her in front of other people, and I don't care if you're at our house or not. I'm going to tell her the same as if you were here or not. It doesn't make me any difference. And if it would make nobody's ever said anything. I don't think the way we do it makes anybody uncomfortable. No, but if it does, tough bananas. I don't care, because I love her, and it's good because our kids that are married will be sitting at the table, and out of the blue they'll just look at they'll look at their spouse and go, I love you. And well, I know where they got that.
It's good to see.
Yeah, it's good to see that they did that. So, affection. I just love to do it and find new ways to show affection to her and model that. Remember, we've told you earlier that your marriage is a vocation and people are looking at it, and you don't even know a lot of the people are looking at it. And so you do it for your spouse, but it can also impact other people too, especially your children. Kids don't learn what's taught, they learn what's caught, and that's what you do. So make sure you do that. Also, trust. I heard a story of a farmer in an area where I grew up where his wife had an affair on him, and after that, early in their marriage, and after that, he would never let her out of his sight. When he went out to milk cows in the morning, she had to go. When he went to the field, she had to go. And he went to the feed mill, she had to go. He would never let her out of his sight for the rest of their marriage. And I think, wow, that's a true story, but it's pretty bizarre also, because you'd have to trust somebody. But I really want to keep Kim's trust. It's something that I really, really long to do. I think it's something that she needs. And oftentimes when people come to me for counseling, they don't have trust in their marriage anymore. And tell you, if you can't trust your spouse, you got a lot to work on.
Yeah.
And so I know how important trust is. I've seen how many people where they break that trust and then the other person just doesn't want to trust them again, or it becomes really, really difficult to build that back up. So it's a lot easier to keep the trust than it is to rebuild the trust. So something I've always done is work hard to keep Kim's trust. One of the things I do is I'll never be alone with another woman. It just won't happen. I just won't do it. If somebody emails me and it's another woman and I don't know her really, or texting, especially emails, I'll just blank carbon copy Kim on it so she sees it. Or if I've been texting with another woman, next time Kim gets up in the office, I'll say, oh, I've been texting this woman, here you go, look at this. It's just something that we do because I want that trust to be there. I've never had an affair on Kim. I've never been tempted to have an affair on Kim. But trust is just something that's very, very, very important to both of us. The next thing that Kim said that she needs is encouragement. And I know that she does. I once counseled a guy from another country, from Ethiopia. And he said his dad just never talks to his mom unless he criticizes her. So if he doesn't say anything to her, she knows everything's okay. That might work for them, okay? It does not work for us. It would not work for Kim.
No.
If I'm not criticizing you, everything's all right, babe. That's not us at all. We're not that way. And so we all need encouragement, and encouragement does fill the love tank for all of us. I know that our believer's worth needs to come from God, and God fills our God tank, but there's also a love tank for our spouse, and encouragement fills that, and I think that's so important that we do that. One of the things that I do to encourage Kim is that it's very, very uncommon for a woman to have an appreciation for her own body. Most women don't think their body is right or not attractive or whatever. And so I've always tried to encourage her and tell her that I really appreciate her body. I think she looks great, and I think she does. And so Cameron Russell is a gal. If you go to if you go to TED Talks, Cameron Russell is a model. And if my memory serves me correctly, she said, today I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to take the 7 most common questions that people ask me, and I'm going to answer them truthfully. So here's a supermodel answering the questions truthfully that people ask her. And one of them is, that people think that they're so secure. And she said that if you're in a room with a bunch of models, we're the most insecure people in the whole world. If you stop and think about it, if they gain another 5 pounds, boom, they're out of a job or something like that. And they know that their popularity is only, to quote her, because they won a generic lottery. And nothing she did, she just won a generic lottery. And so she realizes that, and the talk is really, really a good one. It's good for everybody, every man and every woman to see, because the women need to understand real beauty and what it is, and then the men also need to understand that their wives need that appreciation. By the way, Dove has a couple different things. I think there's 2 different things that Dove has done. Their videos, and I'm going to put links to them at the bottom of this. And men need to go watch them together, because a wife needs to know that she's attractive, and husbands, she needs to know that you believe she's attractive. A wife just needs to know that. Sometimes I'll tell Kim, I'll say, it's just not fair to all the other women that you look so good. And she's so modest. Yeah, she's like this. She just can't hardly handle it, But I honestly believe that. And we also have another thing we do where I'll say, why are you so beautiful? And she has to say,
that's just the way God made me.
Okay. And she does not want to say that, but I just wanted to say it because I wanted her to know that I believe it. Probably one of my favorite ones is I look at her and I say, do you know that you're beautiful? And she's so modest, she can't say yes. She'll say, well, I know that you believe I'm beautiful, and that's good enough for me. And you know what? That answer is good enough for me too. Because if she knows that I believe she's beautiful, then that's important to her. Encouragement can come in so many forms, and compliments on how she dresses, how she looks, how she acts, the housework, even stuff she does, even telling her she's a great lover. Things like that are important. And all of us need encouragement. All of us do. What's the last one, babe?
The last one is belief. Belief can be defined as trust, faith, or confidence in our spouse. This means we believe in them, their abilities, their future.
Yeah.
We want to be our spouse's biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I think this is a need that goes both ways, but Mitch is my biggest cheerleader, and I try to be his biggest cheerleader also.
I've told people that if you want to go out and help somebody, go out and help somebody up. That's great. I think that's fantastic. That's a Christian thing to do. But when you're married, it's different. When I got married, when I was dating Kim, I felt like Kim was helping me up to the next level just by dating me, just by being around me, because she was such a great person. And just in knowing her, I felt I was going up to the next level. Okay? And she believes that by being around me, that I'm helping her to the next level.
Definitely.
And that's something that we've never stopped, and we never want to stop in our marriage. And if I see her on a level and I think, well, that's being more Christian than me, or a better person, or a better lover, or better someone who's a better encourager, or something like that, then I want to go to that level. And if she sees me doing something, then she wants to go to that level too. And so don't ever get away from that. Always feel like your spouse is trying to take you to the next level, and grow in that and become more like Christ in that. And as each of you help the other to become more like Christ, you just respect and love each other all the more. That's what we've found.
Yes.
Now the important things here, we're going to talk about his needs. The beliefs that I had for a man is that a man needs to feel like he's believed in, he needs to feel that he's needed, and he needs to feel that he's appreciated. And I've said this before in some of my videos, and I totally believe this. People tend to think the man is the strong one and the woman is the weaker one, and I absolutely disagree. A man has such a fragile ego. Women, you can shred him or you can build him up as much as you want with just using your tongue. And so I need to know these things. I need to know that she believes in me. I need to think that I'm needed, and I need to think that I'm appreciated. And if she can show me that, then I feel like a man, and then I'm in a position to thrive. The first thing is a man needs to think that she believes in him. I once counseled a man whose wife shot down everything good that he tried to do. She never encouraged or believed in anything that he did. And I felt so sorry for him. There's a reason there's a country song that says, she thinks I can hang the moon. Because if a man believes that the woman believes in him, he can do things. In my life, I think I've been able to accomplish things I wouldn't be able to accomplish if it wasn't for Kim believing in me. The third thing that I think for me that a man needs is we just need to be needed. A part of a man's makeup is he has to feel needed. Sonny Barger wrote a book about Hell's Angels, and in it he said that if the members of Hell's Angels, if they would have had fathers at home that cared about them, there probably would be no Hell's Angels. It's interesting to think about. So men will go out and even join gangs and stuff to get that feeling of being needed. And so, wife, if you're letting your husband know you don't need him, you're shredding his ego, his self-esteem, and you're wrecking his life if you make him feel like you don't need him. I go out and blow the snow, I go out and mow the yard, or I build something. I built these rocking chairs. And Kim lets me know that I'm needed. She lets me know that she appreciates what I do. And believe me, men are so shallow, we don't care if they're even lying. Just make us believe that we're needed anyway, because we're that desperate for feeling needed. We really, really are.
You are very needed.
Yeah. Well, I know. Thank you. In the old TV show Cheers, it says you want to go where everybody knows your name. Everybody wants to know your name. You walk in, Norm. Everybody knows your name. Men have that need to feel needed. And if they don't get it at home, they'll look for it somewhere else. It doesn't mean if he has an affair or goes out and spends time with the guys that's right. But if you make him feel needed at home, you're going to fulfill a man, and he's going to want to come home. I want to come home because my wife makes me feel needed. That's simple. I think back to the time when my grandpa was in a retirement home and he was 92 years old and he was dying. And I used to go in and he'd say, "Hey, could you knock my whiskers off for me? They won't even shave me here," and stuff like that. And I'd go in and I'd shave him, and then I would get a washcloth and wash his face, and he'd say, "Oh, I feel so much better. Thank you." 92 years old, the grandpa, the guy who I love so much, spent so much time with me. I grew up around my grandpa, and 92 years old, and he sat there and he said, "Look at me. I can't do anything. I'm no good to anybody." And I said, "Grandpa, you don't understand. All you have to do is be grandpa. That's it. That's the only thing you need to do, and that's everything that we need right now." And I hope that made him feel better. But I made him feel needed. But see, when he felt he wasn't needed, he didn't feel the need to exist anymore. And I could so empathize with that. If a man isn't needed, what's the purpose? Think about the military and how they all blend together as a band of brothers and how they're all needed one another so that they get the job done. You've heard people say in the military they've had closer relationships than they've ever had before. Well, it's because they know that each one needs the other. As a matter of fact, you need the other one to survive. So men need to be needed.
So the third need of a man is to be appreciated. Mitch and I were doing marriage counseling for a couple once, and the husband said that he got up one Saturday morning while his wife was sleeping in, and he swept the floor and did the dishes and wiped the counters, and I don't remember. He did
Washed the windows. He did all kinds of stuff.
He did a lot of stuff for her. So she woke up and he told her what he had done for her. And she said, "What do you want, a cookie?" And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you're kidding me?
Well, they're divorced now, and that's shocker. Yeah.
I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't feel like ever helping out again. If your spouse does something for you, show them you appreciate it. Yeah, just blows my mind. That was crazy. Mitch has said before, even in this video, about a man having a fragile ego, and so I do try to recognize the things that he does for me, for us, and compliment him and let him know I appreciate him, I need him, that I'm thankful for those things. And I try to fill his love tank up in this way. I try to be life-giving, and it's only natural that if someone is filling up our love tank and meeting our needs, that person is most likely going to respond to that. In the scriptures, there are actually 59 one another's. Yeah. And I'm going to read a couple of those, but it's challenging.
Now, read all 59?
Not all 59.
Just checking. Okay.
So the scriptures are challenging us to treat one another this way in love. And these scriptures are in general, like the way God wants us to treat everyone.
I love you.
Thank you. But, Mitch and I feel like the best place to start practicing these things is right here with one another in your own marriage.
Yeah.
You've promised to love and cherish your spouse, so start right there with learning how to be life-giving and love one another, and then it can spread out from there. So the first verse I'd like to read is Matthew 7:2. "So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets." Well, often our spouse or our family sees the worst of us.
Yeah.
We're tired and we don't make the effort or whatever, and we act better around other people, but that's just not right. So.
Yeah, and I retired last year from a church as pastor, but I always wanted that. So if I was up there preaching on love or respect or something, that I wasn't being a hypocrite to my family. It only stands to reason.
Yeah. The next verse is Romans 12:10. "Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves." Well, that goes against our own selfish nature, to honor one another above ourselves. So I need to honor Mitch above myself.
Philippians 2:3 says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself." And that's valuing others above yourself again. I should at least be able to value my spouse above myself. Men, our goal is to love her as Christ loved the church, which means we're supposed to die for her. And that's definitely dying to myself and putting her above me.
And the last verse is John 13:34 and 35. "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another.
Once again, generally this is true, but especially as Christians. And when we as Christians, and then we're married, and then we let Satan come in and knock it all apart, and our marriage falls all apart, it impacts all the people around us that know us as Christians, and that the love of God couldn't shine through us. Instead, we let Satan get in the way, and we started keeping track and started doing, destructive habits, and not keeping our focus on the prize, on the goal, on, the way God would have us to live. Kim said before, it'd be so easy for us to find fault with each other, but we just decided not to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So remember, the world should be able to see the love of God in you by the way that you treat your spouse.
If you can't love your spouse spiritually, there's something very wrong inside of you, and you need to go to your pastor or a good Christian counselor and get some help with it. There's something wrong inside of you if you can't love your spouse. If you can't love other people too, but especially your spouse. Let's start with that, because to me that should be the ultimate love. It's the only one flesh in the world. Relationship is our spouse.
So take your eyes off yourself.
Yeah.
Look to your spouse and being life-giving and filling their love tank,
Yeah.
and just watch what God will do in your marriage.
Yep. We done?
I think so.
Masterfully done. You did a great job. Proud of you. Okay. Hey, by all means, we're going to put a couple links to those Dove commercials, so check those out. Also, just thanks so much. We'd love to ask you to comment on these things. Just comment, let us know what you think. Give us ideas. These are our things of what we think a man and a woman needs. Maybe we missed some things. Sure can. So we'd love to have your input. So just get those to us, and we'd love, if you got questions, we'd love to answer those. Keeps us relevant. Thank you so much for watching this. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Make sure you check out our blog at keepingthevows.com. And if you sign up at keepingthevows.com, every time we do a blog, you'll get an email letting you know that we have a new one. And so we would appreciate that. Hit like or subscribe if you would, if you're watching this in video. And God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.